What's up, everybody? Sir Cedric back with part 3 of 3 on my Thor tutorial series using Thor as a filter. Part 1 was about Thor as a switchable filter. Part 2 was about Thor as a programmable filter. And this one's going to be about using all 4 of Thor's inputs to use Thor as a complex and evolving filter. Let's first look at the patch that I've used to demonstrate the routing that you need to do this. I've got 2 Malstroms here and here, as well as a Thor and a line mixer to blend the channels. In the back here I've got the main outs of Malstrom 1 going to input 1 and 2 in Thor, and the main outs of Malstrom 2 going to input 3 and 4. The audio outputs 1 and 2 are going to one channel on the mixer, and 3 and 4 going to another channel on the mixer. Also, you can see down here that I've got step sequencer CV output from curve 1 going into Malstrom 1's filter CV input. The next thing that we need to look at is the routing inside of Thor. And this is what's going to actually activate audio outs 3 and 4. By default, Thor will only play out of outputs 1 and 2, and we need to do some routing stuff inside to really harness all 4 of the outputs. So first things first, in a very similar fashion to the way I did the other 2 tutorial setups, Audio 1 and Audio 2 are going to filter 3's left and right in and being modulated 100% by LFO2 scale. Audio 3 and 4 are this time going into filter 1 and 2, modulated about halfway by LFO1. Then the outputs of filter 1 and 2 are going to audio out 3 and 4. So this means everything coming from the first Malstrom is going through filter 3's stereo ins and out through outputs 1 and 2 of Thor, and everything from the second Malstrom are going to inputs 3 and 4 and separately filters 1 and 2, and then coming out through Thor's outs 3 and 4. And with the mixer here, we're able to blend the outputs of those 2 channels, which is another really cool thing for sound designing. I've also got down here the MIDI gate triggering the step sequencer, which means every time we hit a note, the sequencer is going to start. So now that we've got audio flowing from our Malstroms through Thor and being processed by Thor's various filters, we can kind of get a look for how this is going to sound. And it's important to note that the step sequencer right here has been turned off so that it doesn't trigger the notes of the oscillators. The reason why I bring up the oscillators is because sometimes when you're playing with a patch like this and you've got a lot of filters going on, you can't really get it to sound full because of how much frequency you're filtering out of these synths. So sometimes you want to create some bass tones or some mid tones to really fill out your sound. And I'll show you down here what I mean and what you're going to do to make that happen. This is the sound by itself. And now watch when I start adding the oscillators in. Now you may have also noticed that as that sound was going through, even before the oscillators were hitting it, the sound was starting to really evolve and change over time. And the way we're accomplishing that is by tweaking the attack settings on the different oscillators from the Malstrom. So you can see I have each of these set to a different place. This ensures that each wave coming from Malstrom is going to come in at a different time, and our sound is going to change over time. So this patch is really cool, and it's a cool little way to demonstrate the routing techniques and concepts you need to use all 4 of Thor's outputs and inputs. But it's really not the kind of dynamic and playable filter patch that we're looking for from Thor. So, of course, I made a patch that's really interesting that you can do a lot of tweaks from to really get the most out of Thor. And you can see down here I have this called the Secret Thor Box of Wonders. And it's called that for a reason. There's a lot of really cool stuff in here. As I open it up, you can see that at its heart it's the same as the first patch. I've got 2 Malstroms here and here, a Thor, a line mixer. This time I've got a spider splitter and a compressor coming off of it. I'm not going to get too much into this because the real thing you need to learn here is the technique of how to route the proper audio from Malstrom's outs into Thor's ins, and how to use Thor's routing matrix to get all of the sounds to come out of all of the outputs. This is just kind of a fun thing that I did to show how awesome this all can really be. So let's start. First things first. I've got the main output of the first Malstrom here coming into a spider splitter. I've also got the main output of the second Malstrom coming into another channel of the splitter. That output is going into the compressor. The compressor is going out to one of the channels on the mixer. The oscillator outputs of each of these Malstroms, which is what's really creating the sounds, are going into Thor's inputs. Malstrom 1 and 2's A and B go to input 1 and 2. Malstrom number 2 go to input number 3 and 4. The important thing here, and the real difference in routing between the other patch, is that outputs 3 and 4 on the Thor are going back into the Malstrom's shaper filter A section, each one of them. So this means that even though the oscillator outputs are being used, their respective outputs are being pumped back through Malstrom's filters before they get out to the second channel. So only input from the oscillators is going into Thor. These outputs from the Malstroms that are going out to this second channel up here are really just part of a filter section that's after Thor. And then in a similar way that I did the other patch, I've got CV curve 1 going to filter 1 on Malstrom 1, and CV curve 2 going to the filter on Malstrom 2. And you guys will have to forgive me for some of the mistakes I'm making on this tutorial. I've got kind of a harsh back of my throat, and I don't want to have to do this too many times. I'm trying to get it done in one shot. Let me just start playing with some of the stuff that I can do here, and I'm going to leave all this on my screen so you can really see the different parameters that I've got going while I'm playing this stuff, and you can watch. This is really, really, really fun. Now, I think just the fact that I could get all of those sounds out of one patch is really, really cool. And that only covered a little bit of area as far as things that I can actually do with this patch. If anybody is really interested in what can all go on with this particular patch, please shoot me a message, and I'd be glad to send you this patch, and you can see really how fun it is. Another thing that I'm doing to modulate these sounds so much is I've got every single one of these controls mapped to a button on my controller. You can see every time I move a knob down here, or touch my touchpad, or hit a certain key on my keyboard, these little things are changing. And this is part of what you have to do to make a really cool and really dynamic patch is really be able to change everything on the fly. If you have a patch where you can't modulate anything, you can't change the range, you can't bend the pitch, you can't change the filter that you're using, it's really not harnessing the full power of Thor, and it's really not, taking it to the limit. It's not doing everything that you want it to do. That's pretty much it for my third part of the Thor tutorial, and that wraps up this Thor series. I haven't really decided what tutorials I'm going to do next, but I'm thinking about doing something on regroove and user grooves. I was thinking about doing something on the matrix pattern sequencer, but what I really like is for people to tell me what they want to see a tutorial on. So if you guys could please get back to me and let me know what you want to see, what you want to learn, what we can do, please do so. This has been Sir Cedric. Thanks for watching.